Hi and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. This is Simon. So welcome to the world of superheroes. Today we're going to talk about the Legend of Zorro. Back in my childhood days, I remember making a Zorro mask just so I could watch the movie again. But times have changed and Zorro's popularity has faded away. The characters inspired by him have become more popular, and Batman is a prime example. Though Batman was inspired by Zorro, he has now become the modern Zorro with his cool gadgets, martial arts skills and battles with even Superman. Batman is a superhero that everyone knows and loves. On the other hand, Zorro is just a guy with a sword to the new generation. But this is a shame because Zorro is not just a vigilante, he's a charismatic and fun superhero who fights for the oppressed and the poor, just like Robin Hood. He's a light-hearted, older Batman who loves to make fun of his enemies. Despite Zorro's influence on Batman, his reputation has unfortunately died over the years, but we still recommend Zorro as a superhero worth watching and appreciating. Remember, the die is cast, and it's up to us to keep legends like Zorro alive. Now, before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks, and let's begin. The Curse of Capistrano, the novel that introduced the masked vigilante. The Curse of Capistrano is a novel by Jonathan McCulley, which was published as a 5-part magazine serial in All Story Weekly in 1919. It introduced the character of Diego Vega, a Californian who becomes the masked hero Zorro. The story was adapted into a silent film called The Mark of Zorro in 1920, also the first version of Zorro. The title of the story in the film referred to Zorro's signature sword cuts, which formed the letter Z. Douglas Fairbanks, who starred as the hero Don Diego Vega in the film adaptation, also co-wrote the screenplay under the pseudonym Elton Thomas. With Eugene Miller, Douglas Fairbanks Pictures Corporation produced Mark of Zorro, which was the actor's own production company. United Artists released this film, which was a joint venture between Fairbanks, and he founded alongside D.W. Griffith, Mary Pickford, and Charlie Chaplin. Zorro's popularity in the film and prose led to public demand for more stories. Therefore, in 1922, McCulley began a new series of over 60 serialized stories in Argosy All Story Weekly, many of which were later collected and published as The Further Adventures of Zorro, Zorro Rides Again, and The Sign of Zorro. Grosset and Dunlap republished The Mark of Zorro as a novel, taking advantage of the character's increasing popularity, and it's been published under the same title in each new edition since then. In 1940, 20th Century Fox released a new talkie version of The Mark of Zorro, starring Tyrone Power as Don Diego Vega, which became highly popular and critically successful. The film was named to the National Film Registry in 2009 by the Library of Congress for being significant aesthetically and culturally and to be preserved for all time. A brief history and backstory of Zorro. The name Zorro means fox in Spanish, and he is known for his dashing appearance and black costume. He defends the commoners and indigenous people of California against corrupt officials and villains, often in the pueblo of Los Angeles in Alta, California. Don Diego de la Vega, the son of the wealthiest landowner in California, assumed the guise of Zorro, a masked superhero, to combat an oppressive dictator who seized control of the state. Diego mastered the art of sword fighting while studying at the university and created the persona of Zorro after his sudden return home at his father's behest. He and his father reside in a magnificent hacienda with hidden passages and tunnels that lead to Zorro's lair, which also serves as Tornado's refuge. To protect his true identity, Diego feigns cowardice and frivolity while concealing his exceptional combat skills. Zorro becomes an outlaw in order to defeat the oppressed, punished, corrupt politicians and seek revenge for the helpless. He is known as the Curse of Capistrano. The novel features both Don Diego Vega and Zorro extensively, with the reader only discovering their true identity at the end of the story. Both Diego and Zorro are in love with Lolita Pulido, a poor noblewoman, but Lolita is only attracted to Zorro's dashing and brave demois. Captain Ramon is the primary villain, who is also interested in Lolita. Other important characters include Diego's deaf and mute servant, Bernardo, his father, Don Alejandro Alejandro Vega and a group of noblemen, caballeros, who initially hunt Zorro but eventually join his cause. Later stories by McCulley introduce pirates and Native Americans who are aware of Zorro's secret identity. After the release of the 1920 film, which features Douglas Fairbanks and Noah Beery, the character of Zorro became immensely popular and the iconic Zorro costume was pushed into the limelight. This newfound popularity encouraged McCulley to continue writing Zorro stories, resulting in the creation of 5 serialized stories and 57 short stories, the last of which was published posthumously in 1959. Zorro's popularity didn't end with the written words, as the character has been adapted into various forms of media over the years. He has been featured in more than 40 films and 10 TV series, with the Disney-produced Zorro series of 1957 starring Guy Williams being particularly popular. Zorro's influence extends beyond screen adaptations such as audio, radio dramas, comic books and strips, video games, stage productions, and even adapted by different authors. Zorro's appeal lies in its unique combination of a masked avenger and a double identity, which has inspired the creation of similar characters in the future. What was the inspiration behind a character like Zorro? Zorro is a legendary character who's enthralled audiences for generations with his mysterious and intriguing history. In spite of Zorro's widespread popularity, Joaquin Murrieta, the person he is often associated with, was merely a character in a dime novel written by John Rollin Ridge in 1854. Nonetheless, Zorro's character has continued to evolve over the years. In the 1998 film The Mask of Zorro, the torch was passed from Diego to Alejandro, who was portrayed as Murrieta's brother. Zorro's persona as a hero with a secret identity has literary predecessors. Sir Percival Blakeney from Scarlet Pimpernel Pump series, written by Emma Orczy, is one of them. He also drew inspiration from historical figures such as Robin Hood, Solomon Pico, and Stanislaw, who led a revolt against the Mission San Jose in 1827. Additionally, Spring-Heeled Jack, who was portrayed as a masked avenger in the 1890s Penny Dreadfuls, may have inspired some aspects of Zorro's persona. Jack, a nobleman of considerable means, refused to stand idly by while injustice prevailed. Instead, he created a flamboyant alter ego, complete with a mask and an all-black costume to combat wrongdoing. Known for his athleticism and combative skills, he would leave his mark, the letter S, carved into walls with his rapier as a warning to his foes. In the same vein, Don Diego de la Vega, the man behind the Zorro mask, also operates under a clever disguise. To maintain plausible deniability and further add to the character's allure, Don Diego adopts a persona of an effeminate man who adores lavish clothing and detests violence in the presence of his eyes, a strategy similar to that of Sir Percy. This clever guise enables him to carry out heroic deeds without arousing suspicion. Zorro's all-black costume, which has become an iconic part of his image, has a fascinating history. It was likely inspired by the Masked Rider, a character from Arrow serial film in 1919. The Masked Rider was the first rider from Mexico to wear an all-black outfit while riding a horse on the theater screen. The Mark of Zorro, released the following year, closely resembled that of the rider.
Comes a horseman known as Zorro.
The popular Disney series featuring Zorro. Get ready to travel back in time to the early 1800s in Los Angeles, California, where a masked hero known as Zorro roamed the land, fighting for justice and aiding those who were oppressed by greedy rulers. Disney's Zorro was an adventure-filled action series starring the handsome Guy Williams. The show was based on Johnson McCulley's Zorro and premiered on October 10th, 1957 on ABC. A total of 78 episodes and 4 hour-long specials were aired between October 1960 and April 1961. The first season of Zorro follows the emergence of the hero in 1820 and his battle with his cruel captain Enrique Sanchez Monasterio, who ruled with an iron fist. After Monastario's final defeat, Zorro uncovers a conspiracy to take over the rule of California by the Magistrado Carlos Galindo, and he must put a stop to it. In the third story arc, Zorro battles Jose Sebastian Andy Varga, the leader of the conspiracy, who plans to sell California to the Russian Empire for a massive profit. Season 1 ends with Zorro defeating Varga and saving California from falling into the wrong hands. Season 2 finds Diego in Monterey, where he investigates a gang of bandits who repeatedly divert money collecting to bring a supply ship to California. Diego stays to investigate, both as a civilian and as the masked Zorro. He becomes interested in Ana Maria Verdugo, the daughter of the man organizing the supply effort, and finds himself in a love triangle with his old friend Ricardo Del Amo, which is also interested in Ana Maria. Zorro must defeat the thieves and resolve a dispute between the people and a repressive lieutenant governor before returning to Los Angeles, where he has a series of shorter adventures. Throughout the series, Zorro must outwit enemies, solve mysteries, and protect the innocent. He encounters familiar faces such as Diego's ne'er-do-well uncle, played by Cesar Romero, and Anita Cabrillo, played by Annette Funicello, whose father is a mystery. In the end, Zorro always emerges victorious, ensuring that justice prevails in the Wild West. Exploring one of the most popular Zorro movie adaptations. Step into a time machine and travel back to 1998, a year that saw the release of one of the most iconic swashbucklers in Hollywood history, The Mask of Zorro. Directed by Martin Campbell, the movie boasts a stellar cast that includes Hollywood legends such as Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Stuart Wilson. The film is based on the legendary character of Zorro, created by Johnson McCulley, and tells the story of Don Diego de la Vega, the original Zorro, who breaks out of the prison to find his daughter and avenge his wife's death at the hands of the corrupt governor Rafael Montero. Along the way, de la Vega meets his successor, who is fighting his own battle against the governor's right-hand man, while also falling in love with de la Vega's daughter. Interestingly, the film went through some changes before it landed in the capable hands of Martin Campbell. Steven Spielberg, who was the executive producer for the movie, developed it for TriStar Pictures with directors Michael Solomon and Robert Rodriguez. It was their choice to cast Sean Connery as Don Diego, de la Vega, and Banderas in the lead role as Zorro. However, Hopkins stepped in to replace Connery, and the rest is history. The Mask of Zorro was filmed in Mexico City, Mexico, and upon its release in the United States on July 17, 1998, it became an instant hit, grossing an impressive $250 million on a much smaller budget. The Legend of Zorro was released in 2005 as its sequel, but it failed to recreate the same magic as before. The Mask of Zorro is set in 1821 during the Mexican War of Independence and follows the story of Don Diego de la Vega, a Spanish nobleman living in California. De la Vega is also the mysterious masked swordsman known as Zorro, who defends the oppressed people of Las California against the corrupt Spanish rulers. When the corrupt governor Rafael Montero sets a trap for Zorro, a public execution of 3 innocent peasants, he is thwarted by 2 young brothers, Alejandro and Joaquin Murrieta. Montero suspects de la Vega of being Zorro and attempts to arrest him, but a sword fight ensues, and de la Vega's wife, Esperanza, is tragically killed. Montero takes de la Vega's infant daughter, Elena, as his own before sending de la Vega to prison. In 1841, Alejandro and Joaquin are bandits who end up running afoul of Captain Harrison Love, Montero's new American right-hand man. Joaquin shoots himself rather than face execution, and Montero returns to California with Elena, who has grown up to be a beautiful woman who resembles her mother. This motivates de la Vega to escape from prison and seek revenge. He meets Alejandro, recognizes the silver medallion he gave his brother as a boy, and decides to make him his protege to help him take down Captain Love and Rafael Montero. The Mask of Zorro is not just a movie, it's an experience. The film is full of thrilling sword fights and epic action scenes, including the climactic battle between Zorro and Montero, Love and their guards at the hacienda. But the film is not all about action. It also features a touch of romance, with Alejandro falling in love with Elena. The Mask of Zorro is a classic Hollywood adventure that has stood the test of time and is still thrilling today, as it was when it premiered in 1998. A fitting sequel, The Legend of Zorro 2005. The Legend of Zorro is a thrilling and action-packed movie that takes place 9 years after the first installment, where Alejandro Murrieta has transformed into Don Alejandro de la Vega. In this sequel, Alejandro falls an attempt to steal ballots, but briefly loses his mask, exposing his identity to Pinkerton agents, who later blackmail his wife, Elena, into divorcing him. The movie features Antonio Banderas as the legendary Zorro and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Elena, his spouse. Rufus Sewell plays the villainous Count Armand, who plans to create chaos in the United States through his secret society, the Knights of Aragon. Shot in San Luis Potosi in Mexico with second unit photography in Wellington, New Zealand, the movie boasts excellent cinematography and music by James Horner. Despite being produced with a $65 million budget, the movie raked in $142.4 million at the box office after its release on October 28, 2005 by Columbia Pictures. In the movie, Alejandro struggles with the separation from his wife and son and the belief that their people no longer need Zorro. However, after attending a party at Count Armand's vineyard, he discovers that Elena is dating the Count, who has evil plans to build a railroad on his friend's land and distribute nitroglycerin through the Confederate army to destroy the Union. When the Pinkertons capture Alejandro, he learns that they forced Elena to divorce him to get close to Armand and uncover his plans. The movie showcases thrilling fight scenes as Zorro rescues his friend's wife and son from the villains who plan to kill him. Despite being captured and unmasked, Zorro reconciles with Elena and goes after Armand, engaging in a sword fight that leads to the very front of the train engine. As they fight, Elena fights Firoc in the nitro storage car and throws him and a bottle of nitro out of the car and at the feet of Colonel Beauregard, killing them. Joaquin, Alejandro's son, saves the day by hitting a track switch, causing the train to pass around the ceremony harmlessly. The movie is a classic tale of good versus evil, with the hero overcoming challenges and saving the day in the end. As husband and wife, Banderas and Zeta-Jones share a fiery on-screen chemistry, and their bickering is a testament to the strength of their relationship. However, the plot might be a letdown, as the storyline seems to be a typical James Bondish plotline, with a Euro night baddie trying to achieve the total destruction of America. Despite this, the action-packed scenes will keep fans happy, with Zorro displaying guile and swift and agility befitting his name, the Fox. The movie also has some comedic scenes, but some seem contrived, such as Tornado, a horse that smokes and drinks. The pacing is also somewhat erratic, with unnecessary scenes that make the movie longer than 2 hours. The soundtrack rehashes the love theme from the earlier movie, and the camera still soft focuses on Zeta-Jones too often. Despite these drawbacks, the on-screen banter between Banderas and Zeta-Jones is still the highlight of the movie, reminiscent of the first film. The effects are impressive, but some frames are obviously blue-screened and superimposed. The Legend of Zorro is still a worthy sequel, and the signature shot of Zorro on Tornado, hoisting its leg high in the sky, ready to strike with his sword drawn, is a moment to remember. What makes Zorro so unique and powerful? Zorro is a true jack of all trades, with a wide array of skills that make him a formidable force to be reckoned with. He moves with the grace and agility of a gymnast, his bullwhip and natural extension of his acrobatic prowess as he deftly swings through narrow gaps between towering buildings and lands gracefully from dizzying heights. Though his skill with sword and pistols are second to none, it is unarmed combat technically that truly sets him apart. With precision and calculation, Zorro takes on multiple opponents at once, relying on his sly intellect and honed technique rather than brute strength. His sword and whip become extensions of his nimble hand, making him a dangerous opponent. Beyond his primary weapons, Zorro also employs a range of tools and tricks, including a hidden dagger in his boot, a cape that can blind, trip or disarm his enemies, and even weighted boots and hat for close combat. However, it is often his mocking taunts and psychological ploys that prove most effective in throwing his opponent off balance. And yet Zorro's skills extend beyond combat, for he is also a skilled horseman, and his loyal black stallion is kept in a secret cave, accessible only through a network of underground tunnels that lead to his hideout. While Zorro is often portrayed as a lone hero, in some versions he is aided by a band of masked men. In Macaulay's stories, he is aided by a deaf mute named Bernardo, while in Disney's television television series, Bernardo pretends to be deaf and serves as Zorro's secret agent. The Family Channel's adaptation replaces Bernardo with a teenager named Felipe, played by Juan Diego Boto, who has also a similar disability and pretense. Regardless of his companions, Zorro's skills and tactics make him a legendary hero whose exploits continue to capture the imagination of fans around the world. Who would Antonio Banderas want as Zorro if there is a modern-day reboot? Antonio Banderas, the famous actor who played the iconic role of the masked vigilante Zorro in the two blockbuster movies, recently expressed his willingness to reprise the role for a third time. When asked about the possibility of starring in a new Zorro film, Banderas said that he would definitely consider it, adding that he would like to pass the torch onto a new actor, just as Anthony Hopkins did for him in the past. Banderas then revealed that he would love to see his co-star from the movie Uncharted, Tom Holland, take on the role of Zorro. Banderas spoke highly of Holland, saying that he is full of energy and fun and has sparked that he would be perfect for the role. Although there are no concrete plans for a new Zorro film with Banderas at the helm, the character has been the subject of many recent television projects. For example, a female-led reimagining of the story is in development by CBS Studios, filmmaker Robert Rodriguez and others. With all of these exciting developments surrounding the iconic character, it seems that Zorro will continue to captivate audiences for years to come. What is happening around the Zorro reboot series on Amazon Prime? It's been almost 2 decades since the last live-action Zorro adaptation hit our screens, leaving fans eagerly anticipating a reboot. In early 2023, the CW announced that they were working on a female-led reimagining of the classic tale, with Robert and Rebecca Rodriguez at the helm. Now, it's been revealed that Media One Rights will be distributing an international Zorro series reboot from Sequoia Studios. It follows Don Diego de la Vega, the heir to the wealthiest landowner in the region, who becomes a masked vigilante using his sword to defend and protect the people of Pueblo de Los Angeles. The legend of this hero has been retold many times, including in the film adaptations of The Mask of Zorro and The Legend of Zorro. This new series, written by Carlos Portela, will be set in Los Angeles in the 1830s and will feature a strong cast with Miguel Bernardio playing the title role and Renata Notni portraying Lolita Marquez. Charles Touboul, the head of content for Media One Rights, has praised the new series for its elaborate storylines, special scenes in each episode, and strong female characters. He's described it as an origin story around this emblematic hero that not only respects the codes of the franchise. This reboot project joins the CW's female-led reimagining and Quentin Tarantino's planned Django Zorro crossover film, which was ultimately deemed too costly to produce. The Zorro reboot features a talented cast with Dalia Zaicotla, Emiliano Zurita, and Joel Bosquide rounding out the ensemble. John Gertz, who produced the 2 Zorro films starring Banderas, will executive produce for Sequoia Studios alongside Sergio Pizzolante, Glenda Pacanis, and Jesus Torres at No Status Quo Studio, and Andy Kaplan for KC Global Media. The series will be directed by Javier Quintas, who has previously helmed Casa de Papel, aka Money Heist. Filming for the new series has already begun in Spain and will continue throughout the end of the year. There is no official release date yet, but fans can look forward to watching the series on Prime Video. With a talented cast, a well-respected production team, and exciting storylines, this new Zorro series promises to be a must-watch for fans of the iconic hero. Is a Disney Plus series for Zorro also in the making? Disney Television has exciting news for fans of the legendary masked swordsman Zorro. The latest reboot of the beloved adventure series will be led by Game of Thrones writer Brian Cogman, who will serve as showrunner, writer, and executive producer for the upcoming series on Disney Plus. Moreover, Wilmer Valderrama, known for his roles in That 70s Show and NCIS, will play the lead role of Don Diego de la Vega and his daring alter ego Zorro in the new series. He will also also serve as an executive producer. According to Deadline's exclusive report, the new Zorro reboot will follow the story of Diego de la Vega, who returns to his hometown of El Pueblo de Los Angeles after a family tragedy. There, he discovers a web of corruption and injustice that prompts him to become the iconic mass vigilante Zorro, America's first true superhero. The new Zorro series promises to be a compelling period piece, set in Pueblo de Los Angeles with a modern soap opera setting and interesting characters and relationships. Io Davis, the president of Disney's branded television, shared in December 2021 that the new Zorro series would reflect the rich diversity of the human experience while delivering an entertaining story with memorable characters that will resonate with viewers for generations to come. With Cogman's extensive experience in managing multiple moving parts and fast-paced storytelling from Game of Thrones, he is an excellent fit for the Zorro reboot. Meanwhile, Valderrama's version of the iconic masked swordsman promises to showcase his action skills and sexual appeal. With the release of Zorro Reboot on Disney+, viewers can expect an exciting and daring adventure that will leave them craving for more. Conclusion. So there you have it, folks. It seems like Zorro's character has become outdated and outpaced in comparison to today's modern heroes. Without any recent movies or updates to his character, it's no surprise that his reputation is fading. The question is, how can we bring him back? A reboot of the character from his era could work, but it would have to be done right. It can't be a caricature or campy, otherwise it would destroy him. We don't have Antonio Banderas, but who could fit the bill? The actor would have to be good enough to carry a film and do it smart. It's a lot to think about, but it's time to consider before Zorro fades into a memory, like Prince Valiant. Let's hope that one day we can see Zorro back in action, showing the world why he's one of the most iconic, heroic characters of all time. Until then, let's keep his legacy alive and remember the impact that he had on the world of superheroes. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. And of course, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.